What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am here to bring you all the weekly Shokugeki No Soma Season 2 episode review. And in today's video, we are heading into episode 8 in this week's episode. So let's get this started. So in this week's episode of Shokugeki No Soma, it was a good change of pace because after last week's conclusion, we found out that apparently Soma, Ryo, and Akira are going to be moving on the finals, but they're all going up against each other in the final round. And in this week's episode, we get a little build-up episode. This was technically a build-up episode into which we see Soma, Akira, and Ryo pretty much go about making their recipes for the final match. We have Soma, Akira, and Ryo actually meeting up at this one specific fish market into which they pick up their fish that they need for the final match in order to get used to making dishes for before the final match, which is called the Pacific Sauri. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Sauri. Anyways, they have to use this specific fish for their dish, and we find out that Soma is really backed in a corner because when it comes to Akira, Akira can use his scent to pretty much, I mean, he is the chef of spices, so to speak, and he uses his scent to basically pick up on the smell of the fish, and by smelling the fish, he is able to actually tell if it is, good or bad or not, depending on how firm it is. Now, when it comes to Ryo, on the other hand, Ryo can pretty much, I mean, he's been doing this for a very long time. He visits this fish market on a day-to-day basis, and he pretty much knows his stuff. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to this type of fish and can determine whether it's firm or not. When it comes to Soma, Soma has been at this fish market with his father a couple of times, he has stated in this episode, but when it comes to Soma using this specific fish, he doesn't really know how to go about it and exactly how to, tell how firm the fish is, which puts him in a little corner because when it comes to this fish that they have to make for a dish, Akira and Ryo are the only two that have an advantage while Soma is left at a disadvantage. Now, I don't want to say this is the first episode that we have seen Soma backed in a corner because it's really not. However, this is probably one of the few episodes in which we see Soma, really not knowing what to do whatsoever. And he actually has to go out of his way to actually get help from other people rather than figuring out the situation himself. He actually gets help from several members within his dorm, and he also gets help from Ikumi. I just thought that was interesting to see because, we have always seen Soma pretty much being a boss in pretty much every episode, but again, this is one of the few episodes in which we have seen him back into a corner, not knowing what to do, and actually getting help from other people. Each, has a specialty into which they actually benefit Soma's dish. Like, for example, Ikumi, she is really good with meats, so she should be good with, fish. And there is also the curing and the rice melting and everything like that. So I just like how each individual character that Soma ended up getting help from in this episode actually benefited to his dish. However, when it came to the conclusion that we saw at the end of this episode, which we will get into a bit, it was very questionable to if they helped him out at all. Because basically after that scene, we pretty much have, Akira, Ryo, and Soma, training, trying to get their dish perfected for the final match so that way they can present it to the judges. We have them actually going into the Shokugeki. It's the day of the Shokugeki, so in next week's episode, we are actually going to see Soma versus Ryo versus Akira, which is going to be awesome, and they all pull out their fish that they will be using for the Shokugeki, but when it comes to Soma's Shokugeki, or his fish that he ends up pulling out, that he will be using for the final match, it's very questionable as to whether, it's going to actually benefit him in the long run, but this is Soma that we are talking about. While his fish could look menacingly hideous and just, you know, rotten to a core. I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like a rotten fish, to be quite honest with you. You even have the aroma of, like, poo, you know, just filling the air with his fish, and it most likely smells. I mean, come on, you know, while Ryo's and Akira's fish are, like, you know, just silver painted. You know, they are very clean, they seem very firm, but when it comes to Soma's fish, it just looks like, it looks like shit, you know? I don't really know what's gonna go down in the next episode of Shokugeki no Soma, besides the fact that they obviously are going to verse one another, but I'm very interested in seeing, you know, how Soma will end up, you know, creating this dish that looks absolutely hideous, and how it will go about becoming most likely, you know, really, really beautifully exquisite, if you will, you know. Yeah, I know for a fact that Soma has something up his sleeve. He definitely does. I mean, this is Soma that we are talking about, so we shouldn't worry too much. I mean, it's quite obvious that we know that Soma is going to win by the finals. I mean, that's just how Shokugeki no Soma is. Oh, also, when it comes to Soma actually getting help from Ikumi in this episode, when he ran down the hallway in order to, you know, get her, like, that scene, it warmed my heart, man. It warmed my heart because, for me, Ikumi is best girl in Food Wars. For me, that's my personal taste. She is best girl in Food Wars. And when I saw that scene, when someone was like, Ikumi, come with me, everything got so dramatic. You see the like little pretty animation that's going about. Ikumi looks cute as ever, and she's like, whoa, what me? And then after that, we revert to the scene where he actually ended up picking several of his dorm members for help, including Ikumi, and then Ikumi's just like, oh, this again. You know, I just thought that was amazing. Also, we actually got introduced to a new character who I guess is going to be one of the judges in next week's episode of Shokugeki, which also happens to be Alice's mother. Now, she is not that very good at Japanese, which is kind of ironic, you know? I mean, Alice is from America, and so is her mother, but the thing is that what makes this funny is that, you know how the term goes about in, you know, some anime, and on the term English? We actually got Japan Rish. I don't know, because she was trying to pronounce Japanese words with an American accent, and I'm just like, yo, what is going on with her voice? It was just funny to see that play out. I really enjoyed that part of the episode. There was a lot of good moments in this episode of Shokugeki. I mean, we got some funny moments, we got some hype moments for next week's episode, but simply put, this was a build-up episode for next week's episode of Shokugeki no Soma, and that's what I love about Shokugeki no Soma. It can take very simplistic episodes that are meant to be as a build-up for, you know, the next coming episodes to come, but it can still be consistently entertaining as those hype episodes, and that's what I love about Shokugeki. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you guys thought about this episode of Shokugeki no Soma Season 2, Episode 8, and of course, if you like my content, be sure to hit a like on this video, and if you want to stick up to date to my future content on this channel, please hit that red subscribe button below, and I will see you all later. Next week, I am going to do a live reaction for Shokugeki no Soma because I am really hyped up to see the final battle between Ryo, Akira, and Soma play out. Very interested on how that is going to go about. So, yeah, until next week, guys, see you all later.